Welcome, welcome to another episode of Uncomplicating Business for the teachers, the helpers, and the givers. I am Sarah. I am so happy to see you. I'm a business coach. I am the creator of Selling for Weirdos, and I help the teachers, the helpers, and the givers of the world do the business things without making it so complicated so that you can just help more people because that's what you really want. And that's really what the rest of us need from you. Today, we are going to talk about taking credit. The reason we are having this conversation about taking credit is because one of the things I hear in coaching all the time from clients is that when things go wrong, they are to blame. And when things go right, it's magical miracle cooperation. That is never true. You're not fully to blame when things go wrong, and you are actually the one that created the things when they go right. This conversation about taking credit is important because taking credit has a role in our motivation, in our willingness to do hard things, in the amount of progress we make day to day. And so I think it's important to practice this. It's something I practice with coaching clients all the time because it's so hard for us. Society has told us over and over in very both explicit and implicit ways that if we take credit for something, we're bragging. If we say, hey, I did a really good job here, we're full of ourselves. If we are really excited about something, that we're going to bother people. And I just don't think any of that's true. So today, what I'm going to give you are some of the reasons why I think that we should all practice taking credit a little more effectively and some ways to do that. There are both some tools I think start from the inside, some internal tools and some external tools that I think are really useful to help you start taking more credit for the things you're doing right, for the things that are working, without also feeling like you're a terrible person, because you're not. So we're talking about this because I see this all the time. This is a trend in my clients that, people actually, what's funny is clients, it will come out of their mouths. They'll say to me, oh, this magical out of the blue thing happened. And then they will look at me and they'll be like, that I created. Yes, I created this magical out of the blue thing because I don't believe anything is magical or out of the blue. Yes, I think the universe tilts in our favor. But I think it tilts in our favor when we do our things, right? We have a part in that. And so when good things happen, when we grow, when we create good for others, when our businesses grow, when things go to plan, we get just as much credit as we do for when things go wrong. And we are fast to take all the credit when things go wrong. So that's part of it. For me, taking credit is actually about a couple of things, but most importantly, it's about that the difference between, I don't think of it as bragging. I think of it as knowing your power. What if we decided to think of, hey, yes, I did a good job. Yes, thank you, I did a good job. Yes, this is going really well, as a way to be grounded in ourselves and in our power rather than bragging or being full of ourselves or being too much. What if it was just normal for us to be like, yes, thank you, I am awesome? Because honestly, like, I may not be good at that as a human being, but I would really like my kid to be that way. Particularly my daughter, boys are trained differently a little bit, but I would like her when somebody says like, hey, you're pretty awesome, to say, thank you, yes, I am. And that's not braggy, that's powerful, right? We all know people that do this and we look at them, we're like, damn, look at her go. But then we don't feel like we can do it also. So that's part of it. But I also think taking credit and thinking about this is about sort of evening out our internal conversation. Because when we don't pause and take credit, or even just think about how we should have credit for some of the incredible things we're creating, the internal conversation in our heads so much of the time is about what we haven't done, how we failed, what mistakes we've made, what we should do differently next time. In introducing this, taking credit, this is how I created this thing. This is what's working. Here's how I did that. I think evens out a little bit the tendency to just like berate ourselves. Because if we're also taking credit for the good, it's not all like, oh my gosh, you're such a mess, right? It's not anymore, geez, man, get yourself together. It's like, oh, hey, I'm not really together with that, but look at all these other things I did. I can take credit for these today. And that changes the inside. And when we change that inside, it's easier to stay motivated. It is easier to do the next hard thing. It is easier to practice things we're practicing. It's easier even to fail because we know it's not all bad. We are more willing to take risks, I think, when we know it's not all bad. I was just talking today with a client about, she was like, oh man, I messed up this link in an email. And I was like, well, A, people do that all the time. And B, in baseball, if you hit 4 out of 10, you go to the Hall of Fame. So like she's hitting like 8 out of 10. Like 8 out of 10 things she does work really well. She's batting 800. She'd be the best baseball player on the face of the planet for all of history at that rate. So, expecting us to be perfect all the time and then sort of perseverating over the mistakes is not taking credit for all the things she created, all the good she's doing. So the question then is like, okay, how do you practice this without feeling like a total jerk? And it's not simple and you're going to feel weird, but that doesn't mean it is. Sometimes we do new things and we feel ridiculous, and that doesn't make them wrong, right? How many new things have you done? And you're like, oh my God, I feel like such a weirdo doing this thing. And it was worth it. This one is worth it. Like, I promise you, this one is worth it. So there are internal practices and external practices, as I think of them, like things that we do inside our heads and inside our journals versus things we do out loud. The first internal practices are just a couple of questions to ask. The first of those is like, I work on the assumption that everybody writes down their wins once a week. I think that's one of the most important things that I do as a business owner and a human being every single Monday is I sit down and I write down all the things that I think of as wins from last week. And sometimes it's like it was sunny. Like I went outside while the sun was shining. They are not earth-shattering. Sometimes they are, but they are not all. It's like I didn't order takeout, even though because I had a plan for dinner and I went with it. Like sometimes the wins are what people would be referring to as like demonstrably small, but wins nonetheless. Size doesn't matter there, right? But it's while you write down your list of wins, or even if you once in a while write down your list of wins, maybe you write down 3 today that you've had recently. The practice is then to ask the next question, which is how did I create this? And while you're answering that question, to make it all about you. Like I recently, a client said to me like, oh God, this wonderful thing happened. I got this new client and on and on and on. I was like, oh, cool. How did you create that? She was like, well, my team. I'm like, nope, start again. Your team is great. That is absolutely true. And how did you create it? And she was like, well, together we did this thing. And it's like, okay, how did you create it? And what we came to is, at the very highest level, what she did was create a team that could help her to do these really important things really well. She created that. She picked the people, she made the directions, she made the decisions, she created that result. There is a role that you have in every good that you have happening in your work and in your life, in your business, in your household. You created it. The question is how. And sometimes we have to think a little creatively because, it's not always obvious and we are not practiced at this. Like nobody does this all day long. You don't think like that really amazing thing happened. How did I do this? But if it had gone terribly wrong, you'd say like, what did I do wrong? And you could come up with 50 things. So this is just the other side of that coin. And it's worth the practice, I promise, where you're like, oh, look what I did. I constantly answer that question. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did that. That was awesome. The second question is, you know, is a little bit of the flip side. It's like, okay, I created this thing. If I created this amazing thing, this win, and I said it out loud, what would be the problem? Right? What I think it is useful to get at is like what we're afraid of. Like, are you afraid people are going to think you're bragging? Are you afraid people are going to think you're selfish? Are you afraid that people are going to think that you're being salesy? Are you afraid that people are going to think that you're not a good person? I don't know. But it's worth asking, like, okay, so if I did this amazing thing and I told people I did this amazing thing, what's the reaction I'm most concerned about? Because I think noticing that and knowing it really makes a difference. It's like, okay, I like my gut instinct tells me that people are going to think I'm really selfish. Then it's like, well, okay, are you though? Probably not. So it's like, okay, well, if some people think I'm selfish, what does that really mean? It means they don't really know me that well. And if they don't know me that well, do I care what they think of me? I don't know. Right. And then you can sort of follow the path of like, do I really need this worry? Is it valid? Is it helping me? And is it worth hanging on to? Right. It's just an interesting question to play around with. Not all the time, but it's like, okay, wait, if I don't want to share these wonderful things I'm doing, what's in the way? Right? It's identifying an obstacle and thinking like, okay, do I need this here? Do I need to hang on to this? There is another practice after these questions. So the next one, this one is kind of like a hybrid internal external. This is weird. It's sort of a you're doing it by yourself, but it involves the outside world. So one of the things I think is really interesting is to look around the world, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, social medias, emails, all the places, for examples of people in your world who are straight up taking credit and looking at how they do it and thinking like, oh, because that's amazing. Because here's the thing that happens. Other people take credit for things. They say, I did this amazing thing. And we say, good for you. I'm super proud of you. And then we go to say it and we think everybody's going to hate us. But when other people do it, we are proud of them. We are happy for them. We are a lot of things for them. And yet we are not allowed the same. It's interesting to me to watch other people take credit and how they do it. Or what I see all the time now, because I look for stuff like this, is people sort of like sideswiping credit. It's like, I created a thing that might be amazing if you're purple on Tuesdays. And if you're not purple on Tuesdays, then it's not amazing, but it's not for you. So don't read this anymore. Oh my goodness. Just take the credit, right? As I say all the time, especially in the Facebook group, nobody cares how much you won the game by. They just care that you won, right? Nobody looks at the score. Nobody has looked at your college transcript in a long time, right? Who knew in college that would not be something I handed out like candy to other people? Who knew? I think I've used it twice in the last 15 years. And those were both for things that really didn't require them to have my college transcript and they wanted it anyways, which is fine. But, if you're looking around and you're seeing other people taking credit and you're starting to see the versions of it where you're like, oh my gosh, I love what she's doing. I love knowing about it and seeing your own reaction to it helps us have permission to do the same. Because then we get to go like, oh, you know what? Nobody hates this woman who did this. Nobody is telling her she's a terrible person because she's like owning her space. That is pretty amazing. And it's happening all around us all the time. We just don't see it. And more of it would be great. So noticing it allows us to do more of it. Okay. And then there are two external things that are things to actually do. They're both very hard for me and probably going to be hard for you and uncomfortable and worth doing anyways. The first one is to actually practice taking credit. So the first one is when someone says to you, good job, right? When someone says to you, good job, or you did an amazing thing, or I can't believe you did that, that's so cool, or wow, I love this thing that you're doing, you get to say, thank you, period. Not like, oh my gosh, it was my first try. It was, I don't know if it was really that good. Did you think so? Or, I have 10 people that work for me and, I know I did this part by myself. My team is really good. It is say thank you without deflection. And this is hard. I have to catch myself. It's right up there with accepting help without deflection when somebody's like, hey, I'm going to help you with this, and just saying thank you. But this practice of like somebody says you're awesome, say thank you and stop talking is amazing. It's like, thank you. I worked really hard on that. Thank you. I really appreciate that you noticed it. Right? Cool. That's great. That's a great response. Or just, thank you. I'm so pleased that you noticed it. Or I'm so proud of it. Right? Or it's been so much fun. Great. No deflection, all love. The second, and slightly like, okay, so saying thank you first, I think the 100 level course of this is just hearing people say nice things about you and thinking like, yeah, hell yeah, I did that in your head. The second level of the course, the 200 level, is yes, thank you so much. I'm so proud, or it was so much fun. And then the 300 level, like the next level up, is saying like, hey, I did this amazing thing. Would you like to see it? Hey, I did this really cool thing. I created this thing from nothing and I'm super proud of it. Can I share it with you? That's like the graduate level course, and also incredibly worth it because as a business owner, what you do all day is create amazing things for other people. And it is up to us as business owners to say, hey, I created this amazing thing. It's for you. Let me show it to you. But that is taking credit because it starts with, hey, I created this amazing thing. It's not, hey, I created this thing that might be amazing if it's the right person. And I think it's on Tuesdays and it's like not perfect yet, but do you want it? Very different energy, very different ownership, very different all the things from, hey, I created this amazing thing. And my guess is at no point in this episode have you been like, God, she's such a braggy bitch, right? Like you haven't thought that of me, even though like I can say to you right now, I created Selling for Weirdos. I'm super proud of it. I think you should be in it. Truth. It's just the truth to me. And it's not braggy. I'm not going to be like, you have to be in it. It's the only course on the planet. Like, it's not exaggerated, but it's like, hey, I created Selling for Weirdos. It's an amazing course. You get a ton of coaching if you join in because I can't help but do it. And I am like texting with coaching clients who are in Selling for Weirdos when probably the people in the course building world are upset with me because I probably shouldn't be doing that, but I do because I love my people and I want them to get where they're going. So, but that's not me bragging. It's me saying like, hey, I have this cool thing. It's for you, right? If you're working on sales and selling and you want to be better at it, you should be in Selling for Weirdos. That's the whole thing. It's that good. But like, that's me taking credit. I know how good it is and I want it for you. You can say the same thing like that. And maybe you're like, oh God, she is a braggy bitch, but that's fine. Once again, like if you're thinking that, you probably don't know me so well yet. But that's okay too. Like we can still be friends. We'll get to know each other. Here's the thing. The end goal of all of this, whether it's an internal practice, it's an external practice, it's just something you're thinking of. The end goal is that you have a stronger sense of the good you have created in the world. You have a stronger sense of your role in creating that good in the world. And you have the confidence that goes with that. Because nothing makes sales easier than confidence. Truly. Confidence and grounded in yourself and your value and your expertise changes sales completely. Because when you are sold and you are like, this is the bomb, I am amazing, you need me, people come. And it is worth it because you are the bomb. What you've created is amazing, and the people should come. So this is something to practice. Other things. First, come join us in Selling for Weirdos. If you're working on sales and selling, you're working on grounding, on meeting new people, connecting with them, and like really growing your business through giving, please come join us in Selling for Weirdos because it is built for you. It's amazing. Second, offer hours. The next round of offer hours is October 21st. It is so much fun. I'm like so excited about offer hours because it's like the best thing ever. We make a bunch of decisions in a half hour. We talk together about all the ways people are going to talk about their businesses. I give you guys a bunch of things to think about and be inspired by. I help you in the chat and in the things, and then we all get a bunch of stuff done. And you write your offers and you send stuff out and you write your emails and you get it all done. And if you don't get it all done, you then know what else you need to do. We make sure at the end you walk away with like, here's what I'm doing next and here's what I'm doing it. And oh my God, it is the best $30 you will spend this month. Please and thank you. Come to offer hours. And then finally, if you need one-on-one help, come to coaching. Send a message, go to my website, book a time to connect, because the fastest way to get where you are going next, to help more people, to get worked out the things that you need worked out that are in your way. And oftentimes the thing in our way is us. I'm always the barrier personally. Like there's no real barrier besides me to my success. If that is also you, come to coaching, because what I bring to coaching is the true and honest belief that you are amazing. I believe in you and I will help you get your goal to the 110% of my ability every single time, because I will be in your corner from here on out. Even when you're like, oh my God, she makes me so uncomfortable. We do that with love. We're never going to make you so uncomfortable you stop, because that's not the point. So if you're ready for that, please come join me. Let's talk about coaching. You can find all that stuff on the website. And from here, I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Happy taking credit. See you soon.